Hi students, it's Miss Bergman here. Once again, sorry about the video this morning, so let me go ahead and I'll have a redo on that context clues lesson. Again, if there's something that I missed, please feel free to dojo me or send me a Gmail message and I'll add that to the video. But let's go ahead and get started. We started our live meet this morning, just kind of reviewing that KWL chart for Farmer Will Allen. And just as a refresher, that K column stood for what I know based on the title and the illustration, if there is any. The W stands for what I want to know. So just based again on that title and the illustration, before we read, what are some questions that you can come up with that you want to know about that book? And then I left you with the blank L column yesterday. What have you learned? And that column is filled out after you've read the book. So hopefully that worked out okay for you. If you had any questions on that, please feel free to send those my way. So what I want you to do on that same chart, just go ahead and flip it over. These are going to serve as our anchor chart for these two lessons. So for the KWL chart and for now what's coming up is the TIP chart. And this can stay in your ELAR folder, stick it on your bulletin board if you have one, refrigerator, just somewhere where you can access it quickly and easily. So what we're going to start out with, we're going to name this, it's called the Context Clues Tip Chart. So you're doing something very similar in science, and I pulled that resource from Miss Stanford because I loved it. I had something very similar, but I want to call it the same thing just so that you guys are familiar with the term and that it's kind of crossing both subjects. I think that'll just be easier for you. And this is in the book, Farmer Will Allen. All right, so context clues, tip chart up at the top, Farmer Will Allen underneath it, that way we know what book we were in. And then I want you to make 3 columns, just like we did for the KWL chart. So a T column, an I column, and a P column. And it should look similar to that KWL chart. The T on our tip chart, that T stands for the term or the word. Term is just a fancy word for word. So the term or the word. The I stands for what I think it means. What that word, whatever word you wrote in the T column, I think it means what. And then the P column is for our proof. And our proof is going to come from our text. That's why we call it context clues. All right, so our first word that I want us to look at is the word drooped. So under the T column, you're going to write the word drooped. I pulled out this word because I feel like maybe it's not a super familiar word for everybody. And we could kind of look at it. So drooped, and it's on page 5. When we make these charts, I want you to make sure you put the page number down also. That way, if we need to go back and just kind of double check our thinking, we can go back and look at it. So I have pulled up here also Epic Books, and I have our book ready to go so we can get going on this. And I'm going to go to page 5. All right, and this is page 5, and I see that drooped is found right here. So what I want you to do when you're working on this on your own, we need to go back into the text, and I want you to start by rereading the sentence that our word is in. If we can find some clues in that sentence, great. If we can't, we might have to go a sentence before the sentence it is in, or even read the sentence after it. But usually the author will leave us clues, and we, as good reading detectives, get to go and try to figure out what these new words mean. So I'm going to find my word drooped, and I'm going to start reading in the sentence that it is in, which starts with that word he. I got my little arrow. There we go. He. He remembers people who'd come to dinner tired and drooped and leave laughing. All right. They would come to dinner tired and drooped and leave laughing. So now I'm going to look at my I column. What am I thinking? So as I read that, it sounds to me like they would come tired and drooped. Tired and drooped. So I know if I'm tired, I'm feeling kind of tuckered out, kind of worn out. So tired and drooped. All right, so those go together. But then keep reading. It says, and they would leave laughing. So I am thinking when I am laughing, it's not usually because I'm tired and worn out. It's usually because I'm energized and I'm happy. Maybe I'm with people. So if I look back in my text, people who'd come to dinner tired and drooped. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I think it might mean. I think it might mean that they were worn out and exhausted. They would come maybe after a full day's work and they were just tuckered out. So worn out, maybe even exhausted. All right. So that's what I think it means. But now I need to look at my P column, my proof. What is my proof in the text? What is my proof? So again, as I read that sentence, he remembers people who'd come to dinner tired and drooped and leave laughing. So it sounds to me like they came one way, tired and drooped, and then they would leave laughing. And to me, laughing, they're happy, they would come to eat, so I'm guessing that they have full tummies, they were with people. So what I think that the proof is that they were tired when they came, and then after eating and having conversation, they left laughing. So that shows me that there's an opposite there. Okay. And once you have all three of those columns filled out for just that one word, I want you to draw a line under it. That way we know that one is done. Okay, let's try another one. Remember, these are samples. Let's try another one. My second word is the word scarce. Scarce. S-C-A-R-C-E. And that can be found on page 9. All right, so let me turn forward in my book. All right. So scarce, I need to find that word in my text and I need to reread that sentence that it is in. And if I still don't know, I need to go to the sentence before it and the sentence after. So I can find my word scarce right here in the middle of that second paragraph. So let me reread that sentence to you. He'd seen that fresh vegetables were as scarce in the city as trout in the desert. Okay, so they were as scarce in the city as trout in the desert. As a good detective, I like how that sentence ends, trout in the desert. For those of you that don't know, a trout is a fish. It's a type of fish. Now, I know that fish live in water. Okay, so we've got water, fish who live in water. However, look at this desert. Is there a lot of water in the desert? I don't think so. So am I going to find a lot of trout, which is a fish, in the desert where it's dry? No, I'm not. So let's see, the vegetables were as scarce in the city as trout in the desert. So if I can't find trout in a desert, I am thinking that the author is giving me a clue telling me that these vegetables were really hard to find. So I think, in my I column, I think that they were rare or hard to find. Okay, so now I get to jump over to my proof column. Okay, in the text, remember that proof has to come from the text. We got to know what the author put in there that helps us answer the question. Remember, the vegetables were as scarce in the city as trout in the desert. Now remember, the clue that we used was this trout in the desert statement. We know that fish need water, but there's no water in the desert. So we used that context clue to prove our thinking over here that scarce means rare or hard to find. So I'm going to write in my proof the comparison to trout in a desert. There's also a bonus one here. This is a picture book. So if we take a peek at the illustration down here, is there a lot of things that are growing? Because it's talking about this new farm he's making. Now, if I look over to where Will is pointing, do I have a lot of things growing here? No, I don't. I see that there's something on the ground, but it's brown, which tells me that it's probably dead. So there isn't a lot there. So I can also put in my proof column that I'm using the illustration or the picture. Illustration, there we go. The illustration or the picture. That also helps me. This is part of my context. This is part of the text. The author put this picture here on purpose. So we get to use it. And that's the end of that word. This next one, I'm going to let you try on your own. I actually have two more that you are going to use these exact same steps for the term. You're going to tell me what you think it means after you go back and find it in the text and reread that sentence. And then you're going to give me the proof from the text that makes you think whatever you wrote in this space. So my third word that I'm going to put down here, some of you may have heard of this word before. Composting. Composting. And that's found on page 11. Let me show you page 11. I can kind of help you out there. It's the very next page. Composting is right down here in that second paragraph when you're going back and looking for it. So composting, after you reread that sentence, you'll tell me what I think it means, what you think it means, and then you're going to give me your proof just like we did for these other two words, and draw your line. You finished. And then you're going to find the word worm magic. Worm magic. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a worm do magic. I've seen a magician, but never a worm. And that's found on page 15. So we have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So right down here, the very last line on this, the right side of the page. Worm magic. What did the author mean by worm magic? So you're going to write what you think in the I column, and then the proof from the text in the P column. After you have completed your tip sheet, I want you to take a picture and send it to me just so I can kind of see if we're having any confusion or if this is working out for you. We're going to do these all year long, so don't worry. We'll have lots of practice. But also included in your assignment is a Google form. Once this is filled out, that Google form is going to be incredibly easy because on the Google form, it asks you on page 5, what does the word drooped mean and what is the text evidence? You can write what you think it means and you can tell me what your text evidence is. The second question will be, what does the word scarce on page 9 mean? And what is the text evidence? So you have what you think it means and you have your evidence. So these first two we did together. Composting and worm magic you will try on your own, and then on that Google form you can tell me what you think those words mean and what the proof is in the text. So everything will be in there. Please email me, dojo me if you have any questions. Rewatch this video, slow it down. I know that's a lot of information. Remember, this is just our very first one. It's day 5 of school. This is a sample. This is just to kind of get our feet wet, but I want us to practice it. We'll do this a lot and it will be super duper helpful in your reading. You guys are doing amazing. I'm sorry about the video recording this morning. I will try and get that figured out. Please be patient with me and have grace. I love all the work that everybody's showing and doing so far. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.